Hey, folks, welcome to the pre-show. Pre-show, indeed. Greetings, felicitations, festive hoo-ha-has. Just getting set up, and then we'll get rolling. How you all doing? So, hey, Dave Potter. Good to see you, Uncle Dave. We got Steve Clark. Niall Parkinson is here. And Leslie Holker is here. Good to see you, Leslie. Glad you're here today. And Niall says it's easy to leave a character out in a banner, especially when you're changing every day. What character got left out? So, was it the date? I sometimes, see what I do is I copy the body of stuff over every day to the new day's show. Sometimes I forget to change the day and it says Monday when it's actually Tuesday, and I have to go back and change it, stuff like that. Matt Finn, Master Finn, good to see you in the chat room tonight. So I think we're a little more set up than we were last night. I'm going to start the stream. Whoa, hello. And so the way this works now, we started 4 minutes over at Subspace. We started 4 minutes after the top of the hour instead of 4:25. And we end at the top of the hour at what would be 10 o'clock here, 11 o'clock out east, 6 hours later. The O was missing in the banner before. Oh, you know why? Because when I was with Odyssey Radio, I had the bow of the ship would come up into that curly Q, that Viking ship, and would make the O in my name, Scotty. Now, the Odyssey banner is out, and I forgot to put in the O to replace it. It's a design quirk. Bada boom. So we've got about 45 seconds till we go. Yeah, it's easy to do. It's just a design thing. And because I took the Odyssey banner out, which was creating the bow of the ship, was creating the O. Now I got to replace that. I actually caught that the other day, but I used a different template this time for that. So that junk happens. All right, everybody. I'm going to go dark, and we'll be back in a few seconds. Stand by.
The Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent talk.
Are you looking for a really awesome and amazing graphic designer? How about an illustrator or a photographer? This is Rainey Roberts, and I wanted to tell you how you can get my designer, illustrator husband, Scotty Roberts, to work for you on your project. Do you have an awesome self-published book but no cover, or even worse, a cover that really sucks? Do you need a kick-ass logo for your company or some f***ing awesome graphic designs for your ads or website? Then get in touch with my husband for the best f***ing awesome kick-ass design and illustration. He knows his stuff, and he's been at this for more years than I've been alive. Go to ScottAllenRoberts.com. That's Scott with 2 T's, ALANROBERTS.com to take a look at his online portfolio of work, or call 651-468-8115. Now go out and kick some ass with some kick-ass graphic design.
Hire my dad, so he can take me to Disneyland.
You're listening to the Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent Talk.
Hey folks, happy Tuesday evening. Welcome to the program. This is your host, Scotty Roberts, of this here, my show, the Intrepid radio program, right here on Subspace Radio. And you can find Subspace Radio at subspace.radio. Just like .com, .biz, .whatever, it's now .radio. So go on over, check them out, see the lineup that's on over there that Russ has put together. And I think you'll enjoy what's going on. We're still building more of a lineup. So you can go over and enjoy yourself. Check out the shows. And also you can find this program, simulcast in video over in 4 different places. Bunch of them on Facebook. That would be ranging from my page to Intrepid Radio to Subspace Radio to also, I don't know what else. And you can, probably the best place to join the chat room is going to be to come over to the YouTube channel. That's my channel, youtube.com/Scotty Roberts. And you can join with the other Intrepids who are already gathered over in the chat room, and you can share conversation with them. And I don't talk to too many people during the show, but I try every now and then to glance over and see what's being said over there. We do have the Captain's Cabin, which begins immediately following the end of this show over on Subspace Radio, and you can find that on my YouTube channel. And that's where we're more free to comment and talk back and forth and so on and so forth. And so while you're in my YouTube channel, why don't you hit the like button? That's the thumbs up. That gives a thumbs up to this broadcast. If you're a regular here, you know how that works and you know what it's there for. And that helps our numbers, our algorithms over at YouTube. And also subscribe to the channel, which doesn't cost you anything. And if you want to join the channel as a member, just go on over and click on the little join button, and you'll see 3 different ways that you can join the channel. And I appreciate all of those of you who do that already. And so thanks for being here, everybody. That's pretty much the advertising, self-promotion of my sites at the beginning of every show that we try to run through. And I welcome you here. And Niall says, I'm always happy to catch the live show. I'm glad you can make it to the live show, Niall, especially when he's over in Ireland, and that's 6 hours ahead of us. So I sure, do the thing. Matt, and do the thing. And a Field Guy, good to see you coming in. Barbie D and Steve Clark and others who've made it in since the pre-show. The pre-show is nothing spectacular if you miss it. It's 4 minutes of me getting set up, and that's pretty much it. And talking small talk and nonsense talk. So I appreciate every one of you who is here. We're in the middle of our series on Celtic mythology. And we're going to continue that tonight, talking about the Celtic mythological cycles and what that means. I think this is interesting stuff. If you don't find it interesting, let me know, and I'll make sure to talk slower. So, also tonight, I want to start off with something that my son told me today, which is a big issue over here. And it wraps around cancel culture. It wraps around the whole issue of being offended. You can't say anything if you might offend somebody else. And my son came home and he told me, Dad, you won't believe what they did at school today. They banned the word monkey. Now, I obviously knew right off the top of my head what he was referring to. And that's monkey that's used as a racial slur. You remember even Howard Cosell, the famous Howard Cosell, sportscaster, got very early on, a long time ago, he got slapped pretty severely for using the word monkey in relation to a black runner out on the field. Look at that monkey go, he said. Now, he didn't mean it racially, but he grew up in an era where that word was used very differently than we might now. So the big question that comes up for me is, if there is a word out there or a thing that offends you, I'm going to repeat the thing you've heard me say many times. You can only offend me if I appropriate what you intend as an offense. You can't offend me unless I choose to let that offense sink in and have teeth. Otherwise, like I said to a friend of mine today who jumped right on that and was trying to make the counterpoint, I said, remember when we were kids, we used to say things like, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Well, we've become obviously a much weaker society in that words do hurt us now. Now, I don't want to diminish the fact that words can hurt people. There are things I can say to my kids that could crush their spirits in a word or two. That's why you don't call your kid a fucking idiot or something like that. Those are the kinds of words we don't use as parents. Now, we might say that to somebody in a bar room or somebody that we're working with or other things that are going on, but there's certain things we don't say because who we're directing them to. I get that, because words can be cutting. Now, just a word, an intended offense, can that be cutting? Maybe to somebody who is weak enough to let that affect them, to affect their psyche. I believe that people have the ability to, and I also said to this other friend of mine, remember what we used to say? We saw it in a Clark Gable movie once, where some guy called him some kind of name, which was pretty safe language for the era that the movie was made. But Clark Gable looks at him, he cocks his hat back, and he goes, "Oh, yeah?" That was his response to what was supposed to be cutting language. So, when somebody attempts to offend you by their words, maybe even using a cutting word that is either a long time past word that's been used to mean something derogatory, or a new word, you know what your response should be? Oh, yeah? Sticks and stones can break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Shut up. And you move along with your day. And you go, I'm fat. Somebody called me a hippo today. I'm so hurt. You know why that one hurts? Because you recognize that, hey, maybe I do need to lose some pounds. But when you are something, if somebody called me cracker, should we have the word cracker banned? No, I don't care. I like to say to them, you can't call me cracker. You've never been white. You don't know how it feels. But we have a double standard going in this country, too. So the short way for me to say once again, and I'll repeat it, you cannot offend me if unless I choose to appropriate the offense that's intended. One of the famous words of Doc Holliday from the movie what was it, Tombstone, when he played Doc Holliday, he said, something like, "Sir, you cannot insult me because I." How did he say it now? I'm mixing up his sentence. "You cannot insult me unless I choose to put value to your words." I just don't put value to the words of the people that go out of their way to deliberately attempt to use words to offend me. Now, in this particular case, the reason the school implemented this ban on the word monkey here in rural Wisconsin, small town, they implemented a ban on the word because some stupid kid was calling some of the black kids fucking monkeys or something like that. When you do that and you go out of your way, should you ban the use of the word monkey? Or should the kid who delivered the insult have to face some come to Jesus meetings and a little detention time and a little stern talking to, because you can't slap them, a little stern talking to, and made to take his time to go to detention and write apology letters out to the kids that he tried to insult and acknowledge the fact that he used a derogatory racial term. It's an older term, yeah, and I haven't heard it used to describe black people in a long time because it just doesn't get used anymore. But when it does, what do you do? Do you ban the word? Now, maybe the ban, there's more to the ban. Maybe the ban is worded something akin to, if you use this word in a derogatory way, that's being banned. You can no longer do that here, and there will be consequences. All my son told me was they banned the word monkey, which makes me want to write the school or call the principal and say, now, why are we banning the word monkey? Monkey is an innocent word, and it's a descriptor of an animal, a part of the animal kingdom, just like hippo is. But those words can both be used to offend people. So this is my thoughts on that. In this country, we have grown weak. We have grown weak-spined. We have no fortitude anymore. We must legislate away or ban or make rules, things that say you will not say nasty things to people. We already had rules about that. Not supposed to talk nasty to people. Now it's come down to, well, now you can't just talk nasty. There's certain words that you can't use. And there's certain words you shouldn't use. I get that. But at the same time, are we not big enough? Do we not wear big enough grown-up pants? Well, maybe kids don't, but wear your big boy pants, I'd tell my son. My daughters, wear your big girl panties. You know why? Because there's going to be a lot of stuff you face out there. And you can't crumble because somebody uses a bad word and aims it at you. As Rowan does, now she'll punch him in the throat. Maybe that's a little extreme, but she had a bully try to beat her up a couple of weeks ago. And my initial response was, what did you say to him to prompt it? Because my daughter has a big open mouth and likes to flap it a lot. But she's also a tough nugget. We've taught her, if somebody tries to hurt you physically, move away from them. If you can't get away from them, punch them in the throat. Kick them in the nuts. Whatever you've got to do to take care of business. And say, don't fuck with me. So this is what our society is lacking nowadays. Teaching kids to be tough. Because you know what? We'll just ban the word. You can't ban a word that doesn't mean the derogatory thing from everybody else because somebody used it as a derogatory. So, once again, to wrap this up, you cannot be offended by anything unless you allow yourself to appropriate the offense. Now, does that mean that things aren't out there that anger us and we got to speak up about them? I get angered about things. I speak up about them. Am I offended by them? No. But I'm angered by them. And I say there needs to be a change in this thing. And so there you go. That's my thoughts on this for today. That's what my son told me. it starts to get a little silly after a while. To ban a word because somebody used it improperly and as a means to insult, to ban it for everybody is dumb. End of story. Professor Bauer, welcome to the chat room. Mechanics, welcome to the chat room. Matthew Sainsbury, welcome. Everybody that's coming in a little later, glad you're here. Sean Stroik, good to see you, brother. Leslie Howard, famous actor, screen actor. Leslie Holker, I don't know why Howard came out. I wish people would just be respectful to one another. And I wish people would get over themselves. This is a me-first society, and so everything is offensive. It drives me nuts. Yeah, I think we have to have a new encyclopedia made or a dictionary of all the words in American society that are now offensive to other people. It goes off the scale. Professor Bauer says the intolerance of those calling for tolerance is intolerable and only comes with one ideology, and that is the fact. Spot on, Professor Bauer. So Niall Parkinson says, I think it's a ridiculous concept and is completely inappropriate to even suggest monkey is a derogatory. Makes me wonder who's running our schools. Well, that's it. Well, if in our country now, if somebody speaks up to the authorities and said, I was offended by this word somebody used, next step is canceling of that word, banning of that word. I said, my own daughter today was making a case for the other side of that argument. And I said, it's kind of like the same reason you're starting to see books like Mark Twain's Huckleberry Finn, an American classic for over 120 years. You see Tom Sawyer, the same thing. You see the book written in the, I think it was in the mid-60s, Harper Lee's book, To Kill a Mockingbird. All of these books we're starting to see get banned from school libraries. Why? Because they use language from a different era. Even in To Kill a Mockingbird. Now, I would just say the word because we're adults. We can say the words. I don't have to say the N-word, but I have to for fear that my show will be pulled from view. So that's the only reason I'm using it now. But it's in To Kill a Mockingbird. The N-word was used several times, but it was not used as a derogatory coming out of the book and the lesson the book was teaching, the morals that the book was standing for. It was written in there to show what the bad folk who used that word and how they used it badly and how it was demeaning and diminishing and derogatory toward Black people. But now that book is banned in some schools. Many schools. Why? Because they don't want kids reading that and thinking that it's okay to say that. We've got to insulate our children from the way people used to speak, even bad people. Now, there are movies and songs I don't let my kids listen to. I hear my kids playing music in the back of the car when we're driving somewhere. They're playing music on their phones. And you're coming out with versions of the song that you might hear on the radio, but in the online version, it takes out, the word, I had a bad day to I had a shitty day, something like that. And I always look at my wife and I said, are these songs really written for kids? And is it because our kids have become conditioned to this kind of stuff now and that kind of language? So I disallow them from listening. You got to turn that off. If I hear that, it gets turned off. Don't favorite it because I will not allow you to listen to it. Hey, Scott Allen, welcome to the show. David Castle, welcome to you as well. So Matt Finn says, it's not true because you should see what books they are putting into school libraries pushing a certain agenda. That's exactly it, Matt. Look at the books they're putting in, then look at the classics they pull. Wasn't Laura Ingalls Wilder, Little House on the Prairie books were pulled from schools, and it made all the news a couple of years ago. Why? because of the language they used in her day. Can't have that anymore. Can't expose kids to that. It's not about shielding children, says Matt Finn. It's about indoctrination. Bing, bang, bada, boom. That's exactly what it is. It's not about protecting children. It's not about protecting people from being offended. It's about indoctrination. Spot on, Matt Finn. This little incident at school today, I'll probably still write the I'll write the principal and have a conversation about it. Ryan Gale says, I make books for school libraries, and I disagree. What do you disagree on? That they're taking books out, or that they are making some books that are for indoctrination purposes? Indoctrinating to the way that a certain mindset or political ideology thinks we should be talking. Ryan, it's a legitimate question I'm asking you. What you say? I know Ryan was working with me on The Sword and the Clay, which you can see right there up in the corner here of my screen. That book, there were a couple things Ryan highly recommended I take out because he works for a publisher and he has to deal with this stuff every day. He says, I think you're going to get a kickback when you have mentioned, I mentioned in there that this Marius Abruzzo, the Roman, who comes from a Roman family that were landowners. And I mentioned that his father was good to their slaves and treated them well. And he said, I think you got to pull the word slaves out because you're going to have some people that are going to have a problem with that. And we had some things like that in the book that we had to change for fear that somebody's going to come out and have a problem with that word being used. So it's come to a point where, and the point I'm making, Ryan, you can't even anymore talk about 2,000 years ago, the Romans owned slaves in a kid's storybook. Why? Because we can't use that word slave anymore for kids. This is the kind of thing I mean, Ryan. That's my point on this stuff. Leslie Holker says they do have an agenda, and they're aiming it at children that should be reading happy books and not books filled with shit. Absolutely. Ryan says the books we produce are very even-sided. I've never seen any agenda that schools are pushing. It's not a written down agenda, Ryan. When you see the books, take a look at the books that get banned. And that gives you an idea of what agenda is behind it. An agenda, a narrative. I say there's a narrative going on in this country right now, and there's an agenda behind it. Is it written? Can you go on the internet and go, what's the agenda today? You're going to see political pundits expressing opinion on those things. So you're not going to find those anywhere. Hey, 18sex.xyz. I've just given you attention. Now you're blocked. Bye. And so we don't need to talk about. See, now this is where I'll block somebody. I'll block that user. Now, I can't block them in every context here. I don't know why YouTube doesn't let me block them. Let's just put them in a timeout for now. There you go. Users in a timeout. I can't block them. Promoting sex sites. So that's what they do. They come onto these things. Now, does everybody here like sex? Probably. I don't like it being pushed on my show and in my chat room, in the chat room that way with a link. So you know what? Fuck off. There you go. Some people don't like the F word. I love the F word. I use it far too much. So yeah, they come in to create trouble, says Leslie. That's all they do. And that's not even trouble. They're just trying to, if they're promoting a website, maybe it is. Children do not need to be brought into sexual conversation anytime. I agree. Kids don't need that. I don't send my kids to school at ages 7 and 8 and 10, where they're going to start learning things about gender differences and all the minutia of everything that's out there. I do not believe that children should be taught about that stuff. They can learn about that stuff at home. And if they don't get taught at home, they're going to find out soon enough. School, the place where you're supposed to be educated, should not be the place that pushes an agenda. Ryan, that's one of the agendas I speak of. The agenda of the LGBTQ community and other initials that go with it. There's an agenda out there. Number one, I don't think any of my kids should have a drag show put on in elementary school. What idiot thought that that was a good thing? Somebody who's pushing that particular agenda. And so that agenda does not belong in schools. You know what? If you want to be a drag queen, if you believe you're trans and you grow up and you become the age of an adult where you can make decisions on your own on that, more power to you. It's your body. Do with it what you will. If you want to have parts cut off or false parts added that don't really work, if you want to claim that a man can get pregnant, which a man can never get pregnant, a woman calling herself a man or believing she is a man and acting like a man can become pregnant when impregnated by a man. It's the way sex works, folks. Wanting to be something else doesn't make it so. I can stand in my garage all day and believe I am a car. I will never grow 4 wheels and a bumper and 2 headlights. So, and an exhaust system. Well, I do have an exhaust system, but it works differently. You get it. Much like the government protocol for COVID, which killed many. This is the government protocols for schools. Oh, that's such misinformation, Leslie. You are misinformed and you're spreading misinformation. No, you're spreading information that goes against the agenda and the narrative. I got to tell you, this conversation could go on and on and on. But we'll end that there because we got to get into Celtic mythology. You know what this stuff is right now? This is 21st century American mythology that we're seeing going on all around us. This is the stuff that expresses what our culture has become. And I hope to God there's going to be a cap put on it. You can express yourselves freely. You have all rights to express your opinion, but there's a certain point where it ends. It ends where you're going to teach my kids something. It ends where you're going to start banning literature. Those things, and I only speak to Ryan. Ryan, I'm not calling you out. I'm just talking to you because you brought up a little bit of an opposing view on that. Just look at the list of banned books in America. Tell me Mark Twain needs to be banned or edited. Same with Tom Sawyer. Same with To Kill a Mockingbird. And there's a whole list of these. Like Fahrenheit 451 was banned in some schools 40 years ago. Leslie Holker is saying it right here. Live your life as you choose, but do not shove it down my throat. And do not attempt, I will amend, and do not attempt to legislate it down my throat. And do not shove it down the throats of my grandchildren. Spot on, Leslie. No wonder so many are homeschooling, says Michelle Canham Free. That's it. It's no wonder there's an agenda that's against homeschooling, making it look foolish and stupid. Susie Q says there should never be compelled speech from the government. Damn straight. This is why, and I only bring up this example, I've used it before. That's why I was against the DOMA Act, the Defense of Marriage Act, pushed by the religious right. They wanted to define who you could marry in the Constitution, amendment to the Constitution. And I said, absolutely not. It is not the federal government's place to tell you who you can marry, what sex you can marry, what gender you can marry. If you want to marry your pet duck, be my guest. You're just weird when that happens. Ryan Gell said, now the books I do are from Minnesota publishers. It's a fairly liberal state. Sure. Yeah. You're talking about some of the new books you do. There are stringent guidelines for what you can and cannot talk about. I don't know that firsthand because I don't do your job, but I know by some of the things we discussed over my own book, The Sword and the Clay, that there are things you can't say anymore for fear that somebody will take offense at it. So no longer can we just say you're offended if you appropriate the offense intended. Instead of saying just saying something, talking about history, people are offended at the types of words you use. And you know why that's happening more and more? Because we've allowed it to become a thing in this country. Oh, if you're offended, we'll just ban that word. There is an agenda there, at least a narrative at the very least. Okay, let's move on from this. I started to try to segue gently into Celtic mythology. Instead of gently, we're going to do it abruptly now. We've been talking about Celtic mythology, and the mythology of a people establishes who they are for later generations. We know about the Celts and the kind of people they were by their mythologies, and of course by their histories as well. I'm going to talk about the mythological cycle. And the first of the mythological cycles that we're going to encounter in the creation of the Celtic belief system is the mythological cycle. While most belief systems feature creation of the world type of a story, we see it in Genesis, we see it in the Quran, we see it in China, their books, other religions, Taoism. Everybody's got a story of how the world came into being. And you look at the book of Genesis in the Judeo-Christian Bible, or the giant Ymir in Norse, easy for me to say, Norse mythology. The Celtic mythology instead focuses on how the people of Ireland are the people who have come from far away. The mythological cycle features a series of invasions of the island of Ireland by those ranging from traditional humans, like Cesaire and Parthalon, to the otherworldly gods of the Tuatha de Danann, the giant shining gods who came from the heavens, and the demonic beings of the Fomorians. So the first book in this cycle, this mythological cycle, is the Book of Invasions, the Cesaire. Now, the first people to walk the land of Ireland was Cesaire, the granddaughter of Noah. Noah, remember Noah and the flood? So right away we see how Celtic mythology and Christianity intermix. Her father had been forbidden to get into the ark, but luckily Cesaire was skilled and had a plan. She built 3 arks of her own, each one with 50 women. She told her father, Bith, that if he agreed to forsake the God of Noah, that he would have a place on her boats. So aside from the women, the only men she brought were her father, her husband, her brother, and Ladra the pilot. And man, did Ladra the pilot end up lucky. Sorry, a sexist would say. Stealing from Greg Gutfeld. So as the flood happened, Cesaire traveled the world in search of Innisfail, or the land of destiny, and later known as Ireland. And along their travels, 2 of 3 ships were lost. Finally, they saw Ireland. They docked their ships in Kerry. And Cesaire, as the leader, was the first to walk on what is now considered Ireland, according to this myth. Her husband, Fintan mac Bocra, was the first man in Ireland. The rest of the crew landed safely except for Ladra, who had wounded his thigh on his oar. So with few people and the need to populate the island, the 3 men divided the 50 women among themselves. Bith took 16, as he was aging. He was older. He took fewer. while Fintan and Ladra each took 17. Maybe he took 16 because that's mathematically, that's how it worked. So like I'm saying, Bith, Fintan, and Ladra, those guys were lucky bastards. So from a sexual point of view, I don't know, maybe it became a taxing thing. I don't know. Let me talk to just the gentleman for a moment. If you had legitimately and legally 17 women that you had to help populate the earth with, you'd be a busy fellow. You'd have to have a calendar. You'd have to say, oh, well, I've got Jennifer on Thursday. How about Saturday? And you'd have to be eating all the right foods, keeping in shape and all of that. So there you go. So I'm sure that was joked about thousands of years ago, but probably in a different way. So Bith became the first death in Ireland. I rest my case. He was older. He had 16 women. He was the first to die. And so his 16 women were then divided between the remaining 2 men. Now, soon Ledra succumbed to the wound on his thigh, and Fintan became the sole man on the island to help the 15 women populate what is ancient Ireland. Roger Rabbit says, we're all hanging in there, ready to be back home. Oh, you're talking about something else. Sorry, Roger. I was bringing you into the story here. I won't do that without looking again. So Fintan, overwhelmed with the responsibility imparted upon him, he fled to the hills to hide. Could you imagine that? You got 50 women that you have to take care of. Now, certainly, even in mythology, some women are going to be like, I can live without it. Others are going to be, hey, we need to populate this island. Let's go. And then there's going to be others who are going to be like, now, baby, now. Give it to me now for the love of a lug. So Fintan fled. Let's see. Hold on. By the way, he fled to the hills to hide. Cesaire was deeply in love with Fintan, and to watch him with 50 other women was torturous for her. And after Fintan fled, she died on the island of a broken heart, because it was kind of her plan, wasn't it? But her plan now includes the guy she's in love with, stooping 50 other women to populate the island. Broke her heart. She died. Fintan hid in the caves of a high mountain, and as he hid, the great flood came, killing all the women but one. Banba was a great warrior woman, and seeing the flood, she ventured high into the mountains to survive. Of course, the Bible tells you that the water rose above even the highest mountain, but that doesn't matter in this mythology. So Fintan had hidden deep in his cave, and as the waters rose, he dreamed that he was a salmon. And when he woke, he found the waters had flooded his cave, but he'd taken the form of a salmon. So he shapeshifted. He swam through Ireland for 300 years until the waters finally receded. He went to sleep as a salmon, dreaming that he was a hawk. And when he awoke, he was a hawk. And when and flying above the island, he saw all that had happened. He lived as every animal on the island of Ireland, providing counsel to many of the men who made their way to Ireland over the centuries. Fintan became the great sage of Ireland, having collected knowledge for hundreds of years as various animals of Ireland. So maybe you pull a little of T.H. White's The Once and Future King, a fanciful book in the Arthurian cycle about young King Arthur. Wart. Remember, if you're old enough, back in the early 60s, mid-60s, came a movie, an animated movie, The Sword and the Stone, and about young King Arthur. And he was called Wart in this book. And Merlin, the wizard, would change himself into animals to teach young Wart derogatory from Arthur, to teach him about life. So now we're going to move on. Fintan in the manor of Tara. Tara is a place in Ireland. The High King of Tara was always the High King was always crowned at Tara, and Tara was in. And you can go visit Tara today. The mounds that are still there. The High King of Tara was in charge of setting a feast for all of his people every 3 years. The feast would run for 7 days and 7 nights and had become a beloved tradition. King Diarmait, maybe, D-I-A-R-M-A-I-T, Diarmait, became concerned, or maybe it's Dermot, it might be an earlier version of Dermot. So we'll call him Dermot. King Dermot became concerned by the cost of the feast, and he looked out into the green land, wondering how he might put it to use for the sake of a profit. P-R-O-F-I-T, money. His guests arrived for the feast. Each received a portion of the feast. The High King mentioned his concerns, and that he might repurpose the manor of Tara, causing his people great concern. And each refused to eat until the matter was settled. So unsure of how to handle this type of decision alone, King Dermot sent for Fiachra, the wisest man that he had ever met. Fiachra refused to answer the question, calling for a man even wiser than he. He sent for Cennefaeled. I want to pronounce that right. C-E-N-N-F-A-E-L-A-D. So Cennefaeled. But he too wouldn't answer the question for the king. He called his 5 elders, the 5 oldest and wisest people in all of Ireland. And when they arrived, they refused to answer unless their own senior agreed that it was correct. And so they sent Fintan mac Bocra. When Fintan arrived, the people all rejoiced. They offered him the judge's seat, but he wouldn't take it until he knew the question. So instead, the people asked him for stories of invasions and battles, and he happily told them stories hundreds of years old. Finally, King Dermot asked him what he should do with the manor of Tara, and if it would be right to partition it for the profitable use. In answer, Fintan told him a story of a great giant visiting an old king. The giant had helped to divide Ireland into 5 provinces, declaring the island to remain the way it had been arranged from the beginning. And that brings us into Fintan and the Hawk of Achill. We got time. We got 12 minutes left. So Fintan mac Bocra had lived for over 5,000 years. As all the animals, all the different animals of Ireland. He shapeshifted into all their forms and lived as each and every one of them over a period of 5,000 years. One day he met a hawk flying from the island of Achill, A-C-H-I-L-L, Achill. He was old, this hawk, and commented on how withered Fintan looked. Fintan took the hawk that for all the children he had fathered, his favorite son had recently died. That's what he told the hawk. And he wondered how he was still alive despite his broken heart. The hawk said he knew of Fintan and had lived as long as he had, but stayed on Achill Island. He asked Fintan to tell him of all the things that he'd seen in his lifetime, whether of greatness or of evil. So Fintan sat down and told the hawk of all the first deaths of Ireland, the great flood, the turning into a salmon. He told him of freezing in the river of Yrn, and how he tried to jump over a great waterfall and was plucked from the water by a hawk that claimed one of his eyes. The hawk admitted that it was he who had taken Fintan's eye. Fintan demanded compensation for the lost eye, but the hawk said he'd rather take Fintan's other eye if it would provide a meal. Fintan told him he was a harsh beast, but he was gentle, so they may as well continue to talk. Fintan told the hawk of the first battle of Moytura, siding with the Firbolg in battle. The hawk remembered the battle, telling me he'd witnessed the death of Fintan's 12 sons and had taken an eye, hand, or foot from each of them out of respect for Fintan. He told Fintan of the giant arm he'd gotten that day, the severed arm of Nuada, which fed his family for 7 years. Fintan returned with a story of the great giant Trefulnig. Trefulnigid. I'm not even sure how to say that. Tref, Treful, Fuil, then Ngidh. Nigi, Trefulnigi, perhaps, like she. So he told of the great giant Trefulnigi, who provided him with the seeds to plant all over Ireland. The hawk then returned with a story of Conor MacNessa and the warriors of the Red Branch, fascinating stories, by the way, who had provided him with many years of sustenance. He told of the warrior Cuchulainn, who had provided him many a meal, and that when he found Cuchulainn tied to a stone dying, how he'd tried to take his eyes. Cuchulainn still had too much life to him and speared the hawk through the breast. He'd barely made it home to Achill alive. They exchanged many stories, and the kings they'd witnessed and the battles that fed them. Finally, the hawk told Fintan that he knew that tomorrow he'd die, and was concerned for what lay beyond life for him. Fintan assured the hawk that he would fly in the clouds of the heavens, and that he would meet death with the hawk to assure he didn't go to any form of hell. Together they spent the night trading stories, and when morning came, they died together. And that brings us to the story of Parthalon. And we've got about 6 minutes left of the show before we have to say goodbye to the radio audience and start our final credits. And so we can probably get maybe through this story of Parthalon. And Parthalon was a giant Greek man who was heavily involved in war. He committed an atrocity, killing some of his family, and as such, he'd been cursed. Nothing he had ever endeavored to achieve would be successful. And in his best effort, Parthalon gathered his wife and 3 sons, as well as all of their remaining family, and ran to Ireland, hoping to outrun his curse. When they arrived, there was a single plain that was habitable, the area that is now Dublin, and they traveled all over the island, creating 3 more plains. And when they reached what is now Donegal, they encountered the Fomorians, fearsome magical pirates who had come from the island of Troy. Excuse me for that. Some legends say they were descendants of Fintan and Banba. And so it took no time for Parthalon's people to realize there would be no harmonious living with the Fomorians. They engaged in a little battle, a magical battle. And they're standing on one leg with one arm behind their backs and one eye closed. This was how they would access the power of the otherworld. And after a long battle, Parthalon's people won. Parthalon's people went to work establishing themselves on the island, and Fintan MacBocra appeared to them, becoming an advisor to them, as nobody knew the island like he did. For a short while, the people were prosperous on the island, and one day Parthalon left for a hunt, leaving his wife and servant alone together. While he was gone, they lay together. It means they had sex together. It's an old way of saying it. They lay with each other. I will lay with my wife now. And Laban lay with Robichashel and bore 10 children with her. So they went to work establishing this. He lay with his wife, and one day Parthalon left for the hunt, and that's when they did this. And then they shared a drink between them from Parthalon's cup. And when he returned, he could taste the 2 of them on the cup. And in a fit of rage, He murdered the servant. The family lived together for another 30 years before Parthalon was claimed by a plague, and Parthalon's people lived on the island for 500 years, their populations reaching thousands of people until another plague arrived, wiping them all out within a single week. And these stories go on. We're going to hit some more of these tomorrow. The stories of this mythological cycle, which kind of set and established the history. It's we've got how many minutes left till the show ends? New system, so a new clock. We got about 4 minutes left. And so I'm not going to get into any more of the mythology. I hope you're enjoying this. Some of these things make great picture books, and I'd love to illustrate them. But could we have them in public schools? Maybe if we include transgender characters, it'll be okay. So let's get out of mythology for tonight. I do want to mention that my friend Wendy Robertson, she and I are going to start a new show here on Subspace Radio. And it's going to be one night a week. It's actually going to be an afternoon show. It's going to air Central Standard Time at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock out east. It's going to be 2 p.m. on the left coast, but it'll be 10 p.m. in Great Britain, where Wendy lives. And so we'll do a live show. We'll pre-record some of our shows as well. Depends on what we're talking about. And Krishna transgender, I don't know, Philip Blair, off the top of my head. Maybe. I'm not absolutely positive about that. So now that you mention it, I have heard that. I'd have to look into that. So we're doing a show on politics. It's called Robertson. Roberts and Robertson, Wendy Robertson. So Robertson. And it's going to be a show basically that covers the same type of topics we talk about on this show, but it's going to favor her audience over in Great Britain. And it's going to be an afternoon drive time type of show, and only one day a week. So 1 hour a week we'll do a show. It'll range from doing the paranormal to doing politics, European versus American politics, and see where they blend and where they don't. And let's see what time we got. It's 58:05. I've got less than a minute before I have to start to go out. So I'm not going to show you the picture. Well, maybe I could. Hold on. If I share my my screen with you like this, and I go over here, there it is. That's the banner for our it'll be our every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Great Britain. And so it'll cover current events, politics, paranormal, the occult, relationships, history, and whatever the hell else we want to talk about. And it will air on Subspace Radio. And so hopefully you can come and join us over there. And that will start next week. And so for now, we got to get out of here. So all of you who are listening in the radio audience, if you want to stick around for the Captain's Cabin on my YouTube channel, you can. Otherwise, I'm going to send you on your way. And I just want to say this before we go. Live long and prosper.
Join us every weeknight at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern. The Intrepid Radio Program, a Scotty Roberts Productions broadcast.
you looking for a really awesome and amazing graphic designer? How about an illustrator or a photographer? This is Rainey Roberts, and I wanted to tell you how you can get my designer, illustrator husband, Scotty Roberts, to work for you on your project. Do you have an awesome self-published book but no cover, or even worse, a cover that really sucks? Do you need a kick-ass logo for your company or some f***ing awesome graphic designs for your ads or website? Then get in touch with my husband for the best f***ing awesome kick-ass design and illustration. He knows his stuff, and he's been at this for more years than I've been alive. Go to ScottAllenRoberts.com. That's Scott with 2 T's, ALANROBERTS.com to take a look at his online portfolio of work, or call 651-468-8115. Now go out and kick some ass with some kick-ass graphic design.
Hire my dad so he can take me to Disneyland.
Well, welcome to the captain's cabin. And Scott Allen, all I have to say is, at least she's not screaming it. Anyway, welcome everybody to the captain's cabin. We're not going to spend a great deal of time here tonight. Now that I'm going to be doing another hour a week, which would be an hour on air, and then an hour, if we pre-record, it would be 2 hours because I'd be there for the pre-record. But we're going to try to do that show live, Wendy and I. That's why we set it at the time of day that we did, so she can participate. And so that would only be 1 hour. Let's see. Oh, hell, no, I should be in that last graphic. What was the last graphic? The captain's cabin? Oh, you want a seat at the table? Drink some rum, perhaps. So, hey, Matthew Sainsbury, good to see you. And so, hey, everybody that I didn't see prior to the show, and glad that you're here. And Field Guy, good to see you. I think I got everybody as they came in. So, welcome. This is our after show. If you've never been here before, this is the post show, and we only started this several months ago now, but we started it as just a means to continue on the discussion a little bit and to try to see if we could do things and go somewhere else with it, and it opens up the door, of course, for a lot of other discussions. So Michelle Cannon-Free says, much love for everyone. Greetings, favor, much love to David Castle. And much love, everyone, says Michelle Cannon-Free. And what else we got? I'm looking back at some of the comments made. Good night, Susie W. Hope all your dream realm experiences are filled with positive energy exchanges. It's awfully nice, David Castle. Susie Q, probably, is what he meant. Susie Q. Our W's and Q's, yeah, they're right next to each other. I do that all the time. You know, the one thing I do on my keyboard that I hate, and I do it all the time, is when I have to put a contraction in, like don't or can't or won't. And I always hit the key, what's right next to the apostrophe for apostrophe T, the semicolon. I always end up hitting the semicolon. See that in some of the things I write online sometimes. If you look at any of my posts. So, Philip Blair, yes, indeed. Scott Allen, I used to hang out there every night. Aloha, Sir Scott. Good to see you. Where'd you guys used to hang out? Scott Allen said he saw the banner on Facebook. Good. Are you talking about the Robertson banner or the banner for this show tonight? I remember you from Beyond Reality Radio Chat. Yeah, Beyond Reality. That was that would have been Amy Bruni and Britt Griffith was on that for a while, I do believe, years ago. So yeah, and Amy Bruni's got her. If you look it up, she's got Haunted Roads, I think it's called. Not Paranormal Roads. I think it's Haunted Roads. Here, I'm just looking it up right now. Haunted Road with Amy Bruni. She's got a great podcast. You should listen to that. And they do it in seasons. It's episodes, as opposed to direct talk radio kind of thing. So you might enjoy that. Yeah, Ireland has a flood story. Everybody's got a flood story. There are over 600 different flood accounts from ancient culture, Matthew. So, Sarah Yusuf says, sounds interesting. Too bad about the time. It will be archived, though, of course. You'll be able to watch it later over on the YouTube channel, or there'll be a smattering of encore performances over on subspace.radio. So you should go bookmark that site already. And let's see. Good dreams are my favorite dreams, says Philip Blair. Me too. Sometimes it seems I don't dream that much. I don't know why that is. Is my mind blank? Or I'm just not remembering them. My subconscious is at play, and there it goes. The after show has proved very popular. It has. Thank you, Niall. People seem to like to stay here and do it. For me, it's basically when I do my radio show, I'm working 2 hours a day on air. That's why I've cut it down. I don't let it go much past 11. Yeah, it's after hours. My wife and kids are usually in bed already. But my wife worries about me spending too much time. That's just a wife thing. And of course, then there's the time when you prep a show. There's time for that. So the radio show and its trappings around it to make it work and make it happen and make it look the way I want it to look, that takes usually a third of my day. And and it's not a paid gig. So I only bring that up to say I do this because I love doing it. And that's where I would say normally, if any of you would like to contribute to the show, you're welcome to do it. If you want to buy a membership on the YouTube channel, you're welcome to do it. If you want to join, those are there because it helps me defray the costs of paying for the software, which is a monthly thing for me, and paying for internet to do these shows. So there it is. If this was my living, you can be damn sure I'd be doing 3 hours a day and a lot more. So thank you, Michelle Cannon-Free. She says she appreciates my time greatly. I appreciate that. I appreciate you appreciating me. And so I only bring that up to say, Niall said, that he likes the show and so on. And who said what that I responded to directly? Is that it's just impossible to do more and more. That's why some nights I'm like, maybe I should just cut back Captain's Cabin, do a 15-minute Captain's Cabin instead of an hour-long one, kind of thing. And so what did Uncle Dave say? Everybody dreams every night. You just don't always remember them. Yeah, that's what I know that. That's what I thought. I say I don't dream. Well, I know I dream every night. Your brain has to. Your brain would die if you didn't dream. So, yes, and while the after show is popular, it's pretty much the same stuff as the regular show. We just talk more with each other. There's more intercourse here. Ooh, intercourse. That could be taken as sexual. So if you're offended by the word intercourse, I don't care. So Dave's saying boo. Is that a Halloween boo? Is that a boo for something else? Don't know what that is. So, how have your days been, folks? What have you been up to? What have you been doing? I'm working away. There are things I work for pay, things I work for to hope to get paid, things I work for to invest my time in trying to do things that will could hopefully be good breadwinning things, bringing in the bacon. Sometimes it's very busy here. It's always busy because if I don't have an active client project, I'm always looking for clients or doing things that are hopefully going to bring clients in or painting the basement. Uncle Dave was over, helped with this room and the floors in here. And Rainey did, Dave helped with the walls and the big family room, which is also now Rainey's studio is over there. We've got her set up on the far side of that room. And she's got as much room over there as I've got in here. And then again, it's double wide as this in order for there to be the family room. That's the huge room over there. And then I've got the room right next door here. That's the master bedroom. It's all cleaned out. It's all ready to go. Haven't had a chance to put paint rollers into action, but I'm going to roll the walls tomorrow and the floor probably the same day. If I can get them all done tomorrow, I'll be happy with that. All depends on what my schedule does. And ceilings. Rainey wants to have a ceiling rather than just spray it like we did this room, the black ceilings here. She would like to have a dropped ceiling, but not necessarily, just something that looks nicer to block off the rafters. So I was talking to my daughter, Abby, about those. You've seen the old tin ceilings and old 1800s pictures of bar rooms and taverns. And of course, they still make it today. But the little square tins with the floral patterns or whatever and spread all across the ceiling. Well, my daughters had that put into their portion of their studio down in North Carolina. And it looked really awesome. It was like gold with little bits of turquoise, like patina wearing off and things like that. And they said they got that for like $2 a sheet. And it's 6 foot by 4 foot sheets. So that's what I need to do. Not doing bourbon tonight, ARG B3. We'll save that one for probably Friday night. Would be a better night to do that. Because I got to be up early with the kids tomorrow morning. Not that I'm going to get hammered, but there's that potential. Maybe I'll just put it out there. And we'll say for every $10 donated to this show, I'll take a shot of bourbon. The piggyback sitting over here. Here it is. There it is. The piggyback bourbon. Whistle Pig in the nice embossed label. 100% rye, 96.56 proof, aged 6 years in American oak barrels. Boom. So maybe we'll do that for Friday. We'll put the word out now so you can prepare your wallet for that. And there would probably have to be a point where I'd have to cut it off at a certain level. Like I couldn't do 30 shots, but I'd try. So anyway, there you go. Hey, Pearson Castile, good to see you. Got your hands on some country music CDs today. So you've been downloading them to your computer, gives you something to do. And he asks how all your days are going. And Pearson, where are you from again? That's right, you're Missouri. It's right in your name. You say good afternoon to everyone. It's closer to evening now, but we'll take the good afternoon. Everyone pay me $1 a push-up, please. Well, if you do 3,000 push-ups in November, that adds up to that's $3,000 per person. Oh, Dave Potter's calling. Uncle Dave. I'll let him in for a little bit. We're not going to go too late tonight. Uncle Dave.
It's this malarkey about a 15-minute show.
That's me saying I don't have time. I got to back off on my time just a little bit. I'm getting heat from the heat. We're spending too much time. There's Professor Brower.
I'll see if I can't get out there on Friday.
What?
I'll see if I can't get out there on Friday or Saturday, and we'll
That'd be fun.
finish painting.
I'm going to paint that room tomorrow. So
Yeah,
if
so
I
you
can.
said. So I'll come out on Friday and get it done. So
There you go. Yeah. Well, I'm doing it because you were going to be out last Wednesday. So,
yeah, well, unexpected that car
I
cost
know.
me way more money than that ate all my gas money and everything. I
Yeah,
haven't even
that's
been to
around
the city.
here. If I want to paint a wall or a floor, I've got to put it around all the other things I'm supposed to be doing. And when I don't have actually active work in that's earning me dollars, my wife's got a whole list of things I should be doing. And I get heavily chided if I'm not found doing them. So here I am at age 61, pushing 62. And I still have to get permission to do shit.
Well, that never changes. That's why I said,
Yeah.
why would any one man want to have 50 women on one island?
Oh my
That
God.
would just be-
Well, see, the upside was he wasn't married to any of them that we know of.
Yeah, but it sounds like it was the same sort of situation.
Yeah. Well, he had to go find a cave in the mountaintop because he was worn out.
He had to answer to them, and
He had 50
that's-
women, Professor Bauer. Well, it started with the 3 guys had to divide up the 50 women between them to
Still too many.
life on the Isle of Ireland. And so the oldest guy only got 16. They said it's because he's the oldest. Maybe so, but you can only divide, equally the number 50 so many times. So he got 16 of them. And it says, and when he died, his 16 women, which tells you one thing right there in those statements. When he died, he still had the 16 women that got divided between the other 2. So he didn't last very long, no pun intended, beneath 16 women. So, but I said they made out like bandits. These 2 other guys.
Yeah.
2 other guys each had 25 women. And then it came down to one of those guys died. One guy had to service 50. And he's the guy that went running for the mountains after, I don't know how much time passed, but they obviously were propagating the species on the Isle of Ireland, according to that myth. So,
Which explains why it's such a small island.
That's right. It's a small island.
Just north of me is Utah, right? And you've got the Mormons.
Yeah.
Right? You have different belief systems that have a polygamous kind of section or system in the way that they set up their belief system. And in order for, I have been unsuccessful with women, I don't know, a dozen times. And that's concurrent and consecutive. And I certainly am not equipped properly to even manage one, let alone more than one.
I think most men will agree. I look at Solomon. Now, of course, Old Testament Solomon. Of course, he was a king. So you got away with a lot of shit when you were a king. But what did he have? It said he had 1,000 wives and 700 concubines. Or was it 700 wives and 1,000 concubines? And when you think about it, you start working that list, you might not see the same woman twice in 10 years, or 6 months. Depends on how prolific you are. Sarah, welcome to the show in such a timely fashion, in such a momentous moment of conversation.
Well, I was listening to the entire show, so
yes.
But to make the point, about the proliferation of a tribe or a group in such a way, the culture was definitely very different, because the size. It's even even here in the South when you have people who have lived off the land for generations, they tend to have a lot of children, 10, 12 children, just to to work around the farm or whatever.
All I think of is the Peacock family from the X-Files.
Right.
If you remember that one. I love my boys.
But it was essential for survival. If you look at the ancient tribes, like with Abraham, the whole concept of be fruitful and be fruitful and multiply. I mean, that's essential for survival. The more people you have, the more people to, get more resources, fight, when you're fighting with other tribes, you have more warriors or people to push your agenda, as you were talking about earlier. So, and the culture, of course, is going to be reflective of that, and not just the general everyday day-to-day culture. It's going to be reflected in the mythologies. So, because the mythologies they provide a basis of how to live. These stories we live off of stories. So they teach us how to live, and or what we know works for them.
Well, actually,
mythology would not work here like now in current.
Actually, Sarah, wouldn't it be true that while yes, I agree, they teach you ways to live, ways to interact, how to have a social and familial group, and what how all of that works. But each one of those were done for a time, like you're also suggesting, when there was more emphasis on survival or on, being able to have enough resources to do something. As time has gone on, those characteristics have pretty much been consistent, but they've also changed dramatically. Like, we certainly don't live in an agrarian society, for example, right? We live in a modern, more of a, there's an interesting blend, I think, going on between belief systems, theologies and religions and philosophies and so forth, and the more materialist, mechanistic approach of the way that we live now. So we're not all out going every day and trying to figure out how to gather food. We're just figuring out if we get enough money to go get what we want, right? So the relationship, the concept of procreation, or being able to sustain and proliferate your species or yourself and your genes, isn't as important as it used to be. That we don't have, in fact, we've probably got more interaction of intersection of different belief systems and the way that people live and the way they have relationships, whether they're personal or business, professional, or whatever. All of those have really gone through a significant change because of the society that we have developed and that we all live in. Mm-hmm. Now, you can go to different parts of different continents and countries where you will still see that agrarian, very basic, specific procreation, make sure you have resources model, like you see in the Middle East and in a number of countries and all over Africa, and even down in South America and the Amazon. But us that get offended by the way that somebody has decided to use a word, and usually not in context, going back to the earlier point you were on, Scotty, which I'm listening to it going, okay, and that's why I put what I put in the chat.
I missed what you said in the chat, I think.
It was about the intolerance of those calling for tolerance.
Oh, yes.
And it only comes from one ideology. There is an ideology that is trying to recraft the words and their meanings and the society, the interaction, who is who and what is what. And it's all being dumped without a great deal of thought. It's being proffered and pushed with an emotional energy designed to get people worked up and not think. Because as soon as you get emotions going into a conversation, stuff's going to go sideways at some point.
Yeah.
Because
go ahead.
I'm sorry. That was I tied in like 3 or 4 things there. I didn't mean to do that. But my point with what you were, yes, I did, right? The point that I was making about what you were saying, Sarah, is that whole concept of a construct of the way that a society and a culture procreates and makes more of itself and protects itself and does for itself is not as prevalent as it used to be. Well, so we now have a new paradigm that we have to deal with.
Well, I don't agree. I mean, I think it's ingrained. I mean, you say that, we're more mechanistic, I mean, if the bottom fell out, you can't eat it. You won't be able to survive. We already have the competition of resources going on. God forbid something happens to the plains in the Midwest, or even what's going around in my own area. Because if food's gone, that's it. It's one of those basic essential needs. And
Well, now, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Dave.
Now you have groups out there arguing against farming. That it's the cause of global warming. I sent that video out to you. I came across another one referring to the same people, but from a different person. But it's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
It's just crazy.
Well, it's coming from an emotional perspective, which is my point that I was making, is that they've taken a concept that's loosely accurate, if at all accurate. They've turned it into something that is an emotional. What they're doing is using the energy of emotions and fear and feeling inadequate or unloved, or a very narcissistic approach. But they've taken it and applied all this emotion to it, and then tried to introduce it into the narrative and control the narrative by saying, this is what now is. This is how you shall think and talk and be around it and about it. But it hasn't been vetted by anybody that they're trying to impose it on. So the first thing, and I say this a lot, the first filter, the first radar blip on your radar screen when you're getting engaged in any of this stuff, like what Scotty went through today, is to look at it and go, okay, there's something here that I'm missing. So let me embrace your position and explain to me so I can better understand. Okay. And once you do that, the majority of the time, and at least in my experience, is that there's a twist that happens. There's a kind of a tilt, because now they're being nicely asked to engage with me and explain their position so I can better understand them. And when you think about it, it's the way that you should do all of your interactions at a base level, but it's particularly effective with these people that are extremely wound up and have taken the liberty and assigned themselves authority, morally in particular, but also ethically, and all kinds of either any of the isms or ickles. Okay, and they have assigned themselves as arbiters of what those meanings are, and ergo, by definition, you need to react and engage and interact accordingly. And as soon as you say, okay, I need to understand it, please explain it to me. Most of the time they can't. Or if they do, it's a word salad of things that are disconnected, and you start seeing all the holes in the logic and the information that they've assembled to come to the point that they are. And go ahead.
Part of their problem is they don't know how to link. They don't understand that everything in life is part of a big chain. Okay, things are interconnected. So you have there was a great commercial that used to be on, and it called attention to this. So there's a girl who's talking about how there was a factory in town, and that factory was polluting the water, and people were getting cancer. So they got that factory shut down. But then all the people in that town lost all their health care, and they lost their income, and they didn't have a way to pay their medical bills. They didn't have any. And so
it wasn't thought through, clearly wasn't thought through.
Right. And they couldn't go after the company because it was gone now. And, whereas if you have that problem, solve the problem without killing the horse or whatever, because if you do that, then you're stuck there in that problem.
And that is perfect logic and common sense. But unfortunately, what's happened is when you ask for that engagement, give me the information so I can understand. And it's all, you can see all the disconnects and things that a lot of the things are not only disconnects, but they're connects of things that shouldn't be connected, as well as the things that they have that they've assembled are incomplete. It's inaccurate because there isn't all of the information available to make an observation and an analysis and come to a conclusion that, at a minimum, you hope doesn't have the adverse effect of you not being able to control your emotions.
Right. But even when the information is there, they are blind to it.
Well,
I'm a huge fan of electric cars, but we don't have the infrastructure to support everyone driving an electric car right now.
No, we don't.
And we certainly don't do it if we shut down all the coal plants and other fuel-based plants that are using what they refer to as fossil fuels and such. And they don't want to do the nuclear thing, so they want to shut those down as well. Well, how are you going to power your electric cars when you don't have the infrastructure in place to do that? Even if you use solar and wind, there aren't enough solar and wind facilities across the country to handle everyone driving an electric car.
See, and that's part of the problem.
They're connecting those things together.
That's part of the problem. One of the biggest problems that actually is I think in a lot of cases, the impetus for them arriving at these conclusions. A, it's missing data. B, if they don't look at it, then there's nothing that can be done. But the fact that they ignore B doesn't mean the B ain't there. And one of the key things about the electric vehicle component is the whole battery issue. Most people don't realize that it takes somewhere around 500,000 pounds of dirt to get enough lithium for a battery. Okay. Those batteries also have a shelf life. Once they crap out, they're over $10,000 to replace these batteries. The problems with solar, the panels, all of the technologies that they want to go for green are way too immature, and they're not ready for prime time. They can't replace the requirement load that is currently in our society, and so people don't think about that. And
right,
so that goes along to your point, Dave, about they don't look forward enough, or they're not thinking ahead and planning with enough information for it to actually contribute positively to the position they are pushing. And that is extremely frustrating, because when you get to the point where that's the way you objectively analyze that which you have to analyze as you are subjected to it or objected to it or objective by it, bottom line is you have to be able to filter that to make sense of what it is that's going on. The one thing that we all have, and I think this is one of the things that is going to be front and center of this transformation of energies that we're going through right now, is that the most pure sense of self and anything else that's true is the resonance that you experience with it. Okay.
Right.
And resonance is the one thing that we all experience, whether we understand it, acknowledge it, appreciate it, can make the most of it or not. Those are all various levels that you can get to. But if you just think about the way that things resonate, like all these victimized on behalf of victim memes that are going about. Everything is on behalf of someone else. Mm-hmm. You rarely hear the people that are being championed as the oppressed saying much. It's usually a whole group of other people on their behalf, right?
Yeah.
And
that's pretty much it.
Right.
Well, and part of the problem is they're so focused on their end game without looking at how it's going to play out, that when you try and tell them, I agree with you, I understand what you're going for, let's look at a way that we could actually get there. It might take 10 years or it might take this time to put the infrastructure. Then they don't want to hear it. They want it now. It's got to be now. And they're so close-minded to the fact that you're trying to help them get to their solution, but it just can't happen now. They're a bunch of petulant little kids that have always been given what they want, and they don't understand that you can't just have it just because you want it. There has to be a process to make it happen.
And that's why the mode that I have been suggesting about engaging them and asking them to, I really want to know. So for example, you just do the green thing. I am so into all of that. Where the best way that we can get energy from and oil is not fossil, it's abiotic. It's another part of the problem with the paradigm and the bullshit that they fed everybody. But regardless, okay, yeah, let's make that transition. We now have technology and knowledge and information and additional resources that we can leverage that we need to explore. But none of them are ready. Everything that's out there is basically experimental or in, V1, maybe V1.5 of whatever it might be. So there's time to go. But embracing the eventual destination, absolutely, that makes sense. So that's when engaging them and asking them to explain to me what you want. Now explain to me, how do you see that happening? And let's try to work that out together.
Ryan's got a question here for you. And first I want to say hi to Wendy. Welcome in, Wendy.
Hey, Wendy.
And I know there's a couple of guys, Niall and Matthew, are waiting in the wings. Probably not going to bring you in tonight, guys, because we weren't going to go the full hour, and we got a packed house here. So sit there.
I have to say that when I heard about the 15-minute captain's cabin, I said, that's not going to happen. I'm calling it.
I can always count on you guys.
So I'm with you, Dave, on the 15.
But Wendy, are you still there?
I'm still looking for a 4-hour show.
I'm still here. Good evening, everyone.
It's your show, Dave.
Good evening, everyone. How are you?
Good to hear from you. Nice to see you.
I'm sort of coming in incognito tonight. I've been looking at some of the comments on YouTube, which are quite interesting.
Yeah.
And I was following you guys. I just wanted to come on and say a quick hello, because I'm normally not awake at this time, but for some reason I can't sleep tonight. So I thought I'd say hello.
It happens. I have some nights, I went to bed the other night at 1 a.m. and I woke up at 4, and that was it for the day. So I was up until, almost 1 a.m. the next day. Dave's experienced a lot of that. We've done a lot of work like that. I'm
on my third cup of coffee since 8 p.m.
There you go.
See, I don't drink coffee because I will not sleep. But no, I was watching some of the show, and it's lovely to see yourself and Sarah here as well, because I think this is the crowd I was with last week, wasn't it?
Yes,
quite possibly.
These are my normal callers, with a couple of others that call in. Niall calls in quite regularly, and
I did see Niall's comment about how he's looking forward to our show and where it could lead, and I was very pleasantly happy to see that very positive comment. So that was nice.
Yes, that was nice. I think you'll.
I'm looking forward to that as well. I can't imagine what the two of you will chat about.
I'm terrified by what the two of them are going to come up with. So.
Yeah, I agree.
You agree, Sarah? It terrifies you? Wendy and I always find good stuff to talk about. We were talking about stuff today, relationship stuff, type of stuff. And I said, this would make a great show.
I think that's the thing, because with the podcast that I do, there are so many things that Mark and I talk about doing, and we don't cover them because Mark's like, no, I don't think I've got that sort of, I don't think I'm into that sort of thing or whatever. So it's really nice that when I talk with Scotty, we do have that kind of opportunity to chat about it,
blast out the walls. So
and also we come from very different backgrounds and obviously different countries, so it's going to be quite entertaining. So I really hope people take it with fun and enjoyment, and not 100% seriously, but just it's good entertainment.
Right. And I think it'll be an enjoyable time. It's only going to be an hour a week, folks. So
That's right.
If you want to make it over there to see that, that'll be the time to do it. I just
are you going to be taking any audience questions, or
probably? If we go live all the time, there might be some pre-recorded shows. There might be some live shows. We've put it into a time slot where it can be late afternoon drive time here, but still early enough in the evening, well, late evening, 10 o'clock. So Wendy, 6 hours ahead of me, can make it in for live broadcasts. So the intent is to do it live, although we can do pre-records.
And then Professor Bauer comes in and it becomes a 6-hour show.
The 6-hour show. Yeah.
What are they saying?
And then as we
about
start,
you?
What's that, Wendy?
What are they saying about you, Professor? That they're actually like, are they saying that you take up a good quality of the time?
I have been accused on a few occasions of being the one where somebody pushes a button and I might sail off and do a round trip around the airport or town a few times.
But she hit the nail on the head. Good quality is the excellent way to describe that. It's always worth listening to.
Yes.
Exactly. I mean, like I often watch, because that's the thing, being the time difference, you can sit back and watch. And now obviously, like I think my time clock's going to get completely screwed, because like I'll be like, no, I'm going to bed now, but oh no, the show's on, maybe I'll just link in. So I think it might ruin my sleep. But I like the fact Scotty's done a wonderful picture of the both of us, and I actually said to Scotty today, I think it looks like we're running for Senate.
No, we are. Yeah. Jointly. Running jointly for Parliament. I want to go.
What
I want
would
to
be
go where I
great
can
is if
shout.
you took the Senate seat here in America and he took the Parliament seat over there.
There it is. Yeah, it's like a foreign exchange thing. I want to be part of a government where I can shout at the other legislators.
Well, I think you do pretty well, because over here, like, we've just got our third prime minister, and
that's right.
And so I think you could probably come over and kick some butt.
Only 2 more prime ministers till Christmas.
Exactly.
That's right.
Well, I want to know when you guys are going to put Russell Brand in that seat and just let it rip.
Be interesting.
Wouldn't he be good? I mean, and I'm sure a lot of people would like him as well. But I mean,
I don't think he wants the job.
The prime minister we've got now, I think, is, well, I can't say there's a lot of people in his camp. I think it was a case of like the main one pulled out for lots of other reasons. But it's quite open. Wouldn't it be fantastic to have someone like Russell? You could just see him doing question time, prime minister's time. It would be
I love watching Parliament just for that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, they got the same thing going on up in Canada right now. They have the I don't know if it's a trial or it's an inquisition or something, but they're going over all of the Emergencies Act that Trudeau and his buffoons kicked in last February.
And I hope they kick his butt all the way, because what that man did was just wrong.
Yes.
The little bit that I've caught is, and I've watched, Melinda and I have watched some of the proceedings over the spring, and it was just every time they've got this great big green chair. Have you seen it? There's this chair. The back of this chair has got to be 6 or 8 feet, and it's all green felt. It looks like the Wizard of Oz.
Nice.
and
nobody's gonna see the wizard. Not nobody. Not know how.
He's got the whole drape cloak thing on, and with a big white fuzzy thing coming out, and they just go back and forth and have somebody on each side stand up and say something. And never does the Trudeau's group, the Freeland or whoever the woman is up there that's his assistant or whatever they call it, they never answer any of the questions. They only do essentially ad hominem type attacks on whatever it is that they're either saying or the policy or whatever, but they never answer the questions. And you sit there and you go, how in the hell? Who is the guy in the big green chair? Why isn't he going, hey, you didn't answer the question, answer the goddamn question.
Answer the question.
Same kind of thing that happens over in England, I guess.
I think most Canadians are asking themselves, how the hell is Trudeau still in, and how is he getting voted in? Because most of Alberta and Saskatchewan and other such provinces are not happy that that man is still in, and he will hopefully get sorted out and
de-seated.
Well, they made it legal to duel in Canada. Somebody should just call him out.
Hey.
Yeah, we should. Yeah, it's going back a little bit. It was Jeremy Hansen that said, I'm going to find his exact quote. Russell Brand has become unwoke. I will agree with that.
Yep.
That's a good thing to see. Oh, and he also made mention that Jeremy Henson said, I've seen Professor Bauer do a 4-hour show before and still have more to say at the end. We'll have to continue this till next time. So,
well, I think you should put in for a 4-hour show, Scotty. We could fill it.
We could. If I had the wherewithal to do a 4-hour show, I'd do it. So
well, on that note, gentlemen, I am going to be kicking off restarting the Nexus next month.
Good.
So I'm going to be doing.
I want to talk to you about that, by the way.
I'm going to be doing a once a week live show, and then I'm going to be doing regular news clips, like I was similar to what I was doing with Odyssey, but they're going to be things that I pick out, and I'm going to highlight a bunch of some of the key independent content creators that are out there that I think are doing amazing work, independent researchers and so forth. So I'm going to be kicking that off. So I will sign up for a 4-hour Nexus Nextcast, and we'll get that organized.
I want to talk to you off air about your show. So
Sweet.
We shall speak.
So Wendy, I'm really looking forward to seeing what you and Scotty come up with. I am too. I got a funny feeling the first show I'm going to be probably laughing more than going, huh?
There might be a few unintentional laughs.
I'm going to rearrange my schedule so I can.
I have to say, I will quote 3 things here. I am cheeky. I have a cheeky sense of humor. There will be comments. Point 2, I will not. I do not drink. I do not drink. So there is no drinking going on. And thirdly, it has to be entertainment and enjoyment for all, because life is so serious and so difficult. Don't you want something a little bit to be interesting, but also to lighten up your day?
It's always good to be thick and heavy every now and then to get into something, but at the same time, it's good to be light. And I think that serious topics can be infused with laughter.
Absolutely.
To make them fun. To make them use laughter, comedy, sexual innuendo, whatever it might be, because nowadays everything can be innuendo. I could pick this bottle from the other night and say,
innuendo,
like
not in my endo.
I don't want to talk about innuendo, but it looks like this cork in storage for this whiskey had disintegrated and dropped into the stuff in the bottom. You could make whimsical innuendo about the cork no longer fitting into the hole.
Well,
everything's an innuendo.
And you realize that all of that is salvageable, right? I mean, you can get the cork and still salvage that good whiskey in there. And it reminds me of, the guy
that whiskey's been open for years. It's not good.
It's that bad.
This one has been open. You could pour that through a filter, through cheesecloth. You could do whatever you needed to do. You could boil it. You could boil out the alcohol, of course, when you do that. But
the alcohol's long
sludge. You put your nose up to this bottle and take a whiff of that. That is not palatable.
That doesn't even look like whiskey.
I would like to try it for cleaning my oil brushes, though.
I'll bet you could. You could drop something in there and take the corrosion off of something.
It's true. We have a saying here, which is like, force it till it fits.
Force it till it fits.
Force it till it fits, baby. And
what's that mean, Wendy? What's that mean?
I couldn't possibly tell you, but I'm sure you can think of lots of things.
Oh, the mind does. The mind
when
does.
The German would say, "Mill it down until it fits."
Put it down. Put it down.
Precisely.
So hopefully we don't disappoint you, Professor. You'll be able to watch tomorrow.
Yes.
She went there. They went there.
They went there.
I'm actually counting on it, and and we'll be tuning in for that specifically.
Sometimes
time was
that
that
hurts,
again?
says Jeremy Hansen. So
What time was that again?
that's going to be at well, here I'll just show you all by
Shameless plug.
a shameless plug, impromptu shameless
David,
plug.
I love you.
I'm going to share my screen with you and go over to over here. There it is.
What an awesome ad.
That is an awesome ad. Robertson. Bridging the Pond every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central, which would be 2 p.m. left coast. I left them out. And 10 p.m. Great Britain time. So we're going to talk about, as you can see right there, current events, politics, paranormal, the occult, relationships, history, and whatever the hell else we wish. So,
and whatever squirrel shows up,
and whatever squirrel, yeah,
squirrel.
exactly.
Okay.
Niall,
So-
do they have a separate time just for Ireland, so it's not Great Britain time?
I don't know.
It's exactly the same time.
The same time.
They can't like that.
Yeah,
We have the same time as each other, so I'm afraid we just have to live with that.
we have to live with that. So there you go.
Excellent. Well,
There is our banner for the show. For
Isn't
now.
it weird that we have? I mean, we've got the same name, obviously, but
Yeah.
I would be the clan. Robertson would be the clan, and
Yes.
Roberts is the sept. So respect your elders, Scotty.
That's right. Well, they all come from the Danann. So
Yes,
the
right.
if I'm pronouncing that correctly in Scots Gaelic, the Danann being the Donaldson, or I'm sorry, the Duncan clan. And it was two sons of the clan chieftain who thwarted the would-be assassins of Robert II. And so he bestowed his name onto the clan. So the Duncans became the Robertsons. So how about them apples?
So you're really not who you thought you were.
Yeah, you're a Duncan. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. There we go. There's a question that's still up here that we tried to hit a little while ago. Ryan Gale asked this question: is the government or the oil industry hoarding clean energy, high tech? You have 30 seconds to answer that question.
Both.
There you go.
actually, I
Both.
just saw there's a guy who's come out with a new battery technology that's supposed to be quite impressive. I'll see if I can't find that video and share it with the two of you.
Are you guys
Cool.
familiar with Stephen Greer?
Yes.
Okay.
I sat on a bus with him once
Next
at an
month,
event.
he's got a 2 or 3 hour presentation that he's going to be doing on at least 4 new technologies that are all energy technologies. Most of them are 100 or 200 years old. Keeley, Tesla, Walter Russell, and these guys. But all of that energy technology that's been sequestered by, in connection with Ryan's question, by the oil and the government, they've suppressed this energy's capabilities that we have for way too long. It's now coming out. That's off bench, so it's out of the experimental stage. We also have, you were mentioning nuclear earlier, Scotty. There's a company I think it's in Finland, and they have just gotten their patent and are now mass producing nuclear energy pods, 4-gen nuclear energy that can't melt down. It doesn't
I've
do
seen
any of the
those.
things, right? And so all of this is about to be rolled out over the next 2 to 3 years. And we're going to see
Nuclear powered cars.
we're going to see the entire, that's what I was saying earlier about this whole climate crap. And, people that are pushing stuff that they haven't thought through. They haven't done the analysis of A, is it something that is reliable? B, is it ubiquitous enough to where you can replace all the things that it will replace? And C, is it sustainable? They haven't thought about any of that shit. They just look at the whole model and idea. So they put that out there, and they don't realize that the technologies, all of the infrastructure has to change in order for these new technologies to really become the norm. And that infrastructure change is going to take a lot of work. It's going to put a lot of people to work to make all those changes. But once we have essentially cubed energy, cubed communications, and cubed water even, which we also have, once you have water, energy, and communication, everything gets freed. Everything becomes untethered from the centralized oil companies and governments and everything else that currently controls all of that infrastructure and the way
This just in, due to a fender bender on 4th and Broadway, that intersection will be off limit for the next 25 years due to the nuclear reaction.
A little nuclear winter in Uptown.
So anyway, all of that's going to change in a way that is going to actually, there's a lot of fascinating discussions going on about will this, and I've harped on about blockchain and DeFi and those things earlier before, but what we're going from is from a centralized model to a decentralized model. Everything that has been connected and required some type of infrastructure in order for it to function is going to be replaced. That's going to blow everybody's minds and set a level of freedom and liberty that we haven't had, except when you go back to the hunter-gatherer mode, because you didn't have any restrictions or anything back then. You just did your barter with one another. You decided what you had of value and what they had of value, and you did that transaction.
Till the king got involved. The deer in that forest belong to the king. You cannot take them.
Right. And so this whole model, the discussions that I was mentioning, is quite interesting because it extends to governments. It extends to nationalities. When you have this kind of technology and capability in water, communications, and energy at a personal level, you don't need anything else for those things. The freedom of being able to transact and interact between in a peer-to-peer model. That's what barter is, right? That's how we actually are. Sarah was, when she was talking about, we were talking about how these family structures they're inherent. They're in a way, they're beyond the culture. They're just internal needs that we have. Well, the ability to create and transact something of value between two individuals is the great liberation that we're about to see. And it's going to come from these technologies. Once that happens, minds are going to be blown because the amount of information that and the ability to be sovereign, to have your own sense of self and value and worth and control that value and worth of self is something that most people would have a hard time getting their mind around the fact that you, A, don't have that now. B, it's the most important thing you should always be, focused on and make sure you maintain. But C, you're about to see it in the way that you interact and conduct yourself with whatever it is you want. Because everything will be tokenized on a blockchain and it will be distributed through the technology and it'll be secure and everybody will go, wow, this is way beyond even Jetsons, and the flying cars are here now.
I want my FFC.
I actually don't ever want a flying car. Thank you very much. It's bad enough flying on a plane, which I do not enjoy, and I cannot wait to get off. And I'm due to hopefully all being well, fly out to Canada in the end of November. And if I get a moment and if I get a chance, I'm going to fly over to see Scotty and perhaps go.
Yes,
that would be amazing, wouldn't it?
That would be absolutely.
How close are you
amazing.
going to be? Which part of Canada are you going to be?
Oh, 6 inches or so. Oh wait, I'm sorry. Oh, never mind. Totally different question there.
It was a different question, Scotty.
Scotty, 6 inches is like this. It's like this.
Yeah. 6 inches away.
Yeah, but on the map, that's a lot. That's a lot more.
Yeah, that's a lot more on the map.
Because I would be going to Calgary, and then I would have to fly from Calgary over to where, and literally
that would be an awful lot of fun if you could make it.
It would be a flying visit, but I keep saying I need to do it. So if I can, I will. And I would think it would.
We're both about 45 minutes away from the international airport.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So
coming
That
from
would be
two different
amazing.
directions.
Two different directions, right in the middle.
But I don't enjoy flying at all. And I was in a flight once which dropped 500 foot in an air pocket, and ever since then I'm a lunatic when I'm on the plane. I'm just like, are we there yet? Are we there yet? And I get really, really aggressive with the,
the last time, well, every time I've flown to Egypt, I like getting it was always the flight from New York. We'd fly. Oh no, it was usually direct. Only one time I flew through New York to go to Europe, but it was direct from Minneapolis to Paris or Amsterdam, and then to Cairo. But that about how many hours was that to fly to Paris? I can't remember the number of hours. 12 hours, something like that.
I was going to say it's like
9
12,
hours.
isn't it? Because it seems like it was 12 when we went to Heathrow.
But what was nice was I never had to be on a full flight for those. I can't afford first class. So, could you imagine a first class ticket to Cairo was going to be about $8,000. And I paid $835, 1/10 of that price for economy. And so, but I was flying economy, but there was only 20 people in this jumbo jet. So I would go, and every time I've flown, I would always, Wendy, I'd crawl over to the middle, because you had 2 seats over here, 5 seats here, and 2 seats over here, something like that, maybe 3. And in all and then the aisles were there. So I go where there were 5 seats in a row, and I'd fold up all the arms, and I'd grab a couple of blankets and pillows and just curl up. Well, I couldn't curl up. I could lay out straight there. That was the only way. That's the only thing that made those long flights tolerable, because otherwise I'm bored out of my ever fucking skull.
I'm the same. I cannot sleep on a plane. Yep. I will do anything to sleep. And then, you're sitting there and you're thinking, oh my God, it's about 8.5, 9 hours going from, I usually fly from Gatwick, but now I've got they tend to shut it down in the winter time for some reason. And I'm now flying from Heathrow, which is not my favorite airport to use.
Yeah. You're close to Heathrow though, aren't you?
I'm more closer to Gatwick.
Oh, all right.
Which is a nice
location of where you are.
It's a nice, you're just trying to put the spot the thing on the map that goes Wendy's house.
Yes, I've got a pin somewhere here, Wendy's house.
Actually,
on my Google Earth.
But if I can come over and see you guys, it would be amazing.
That would be
love to see
a lot of fun.
It would.
Yeah, it would be.
So, see if we can make that. I'd still like to get over there. Wasn't there? There was a time Rocky and I were supposed to go over and do something when we were doing a show, and that fell through. And we had talked about, hey, maybe we'll get to hook up over there when we get there. And I didn't mean that in that way.
Mm-hmm.
The hookup is now becoming.
Oh, careful there, Scotty. Careful there.
Gotta be careful.
Careful, Vicar.
But what?
Careful, Vicar. You got to be careful.
Yes, Vicar. But there is a couple of times you're going to get over there for one thing or the other. John was going to have his wedding over in a second wedding, kind of an official wedding over in Hereford. There was that time, and those all passed. I'd like to get over there just to visit and just to go do a little exploring, a little perhaps paranormal exploring in some of the castles.
That would be awesome.
Well, I think you've got to bring, David with you, and
I think Dave's got to come with me.
You've got to bring the prof with you, because, he's got to come over here and experience us in the raw, and I'm sure he'll
so to speak.
If we bring the prof with, then we have to spend some time at Abbey Road.
There it is.
Absolutely, and actually, I was going to say when I spent a fair amount of time in Europe in the 90s, and I'd usually come in and out of either Gatwick or Heathrow. And the Heathrow duty free was much better than the Gatwick, as I recall. That was.
Look at this. It's 11:04, and I said I was going to end at 10:30 tonight. See what happens with
See,
you people.
we just corrupt you, Scotty. That's it.
You
Sarah
do. That's you have a
Prof and
corrupting
David and I,
influence.
we've corrupted you. Isn't that
Yeah,
right?
that's it. That's it. Yeah, that's right. So anyway, here's what I'm going to do. We're going to get out of here, and we're going to call it a night. It is now 11:05 p.m., which for Wendy that would be 5:05.
Now we lost
p.m.
Wendy.
Yes, no, I'm still
Oh, she's
here.
here.
Oh, okay.
Aren't you honored that
And
I
Sarah is still here.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, we're all back.
Sarah
We're all
the
back.
quiet.
I touched the damn screen and it shut the phone off. I was like,
I've done that before.
stop.
I've done it.
I will see you tomorrow. Well, I will see you
That's
in a
right.
couple of hours, Scotty. But I want to say, have a great night to Sarah, to the Prof and David, and to your good
Perfect.
stuff. And thank you for letting me just pop on and be a part of it.
Well,
thank
thank
you.
you
So
for
good to
just
have you
popping
drop
Good to
in.
see you,
It
Wendy.
was great, Wendy. Thanks.
Here's
You have a
to
good night,
tomorrow.
darling.
Please
See
be
you
kind.
Be kind. Oh, we're leaving. So everybody's leaving.
All right, take care, my
You don't
loves.
have to go home, but you can't stay
Can't
here.
stay here. Yeah. So Friday or Saturday, I'll get out to do some painting, and
Okay.
I'll
If
catch
there's
up with
any
you then and
left
drop you
for
your
you.
$10 that I owe you.
That's
Sarah,
right,
Prop,
Jeremy.
good to see you both.
As
Thanks,
you
guys.
as well. And Sarah,
Sarah,
good to see
do you have
again.
any parting words before I let you go? Because you were left so quietly there. You know, and I'm not pushing this there's no agenda behind this statement. But if I saw your face on the screen, I would see, because I'm just looking at the dot. It fades into the back, and I don't always think to go, "Hey, Wendy, what do you think of that?" So,
Well, I prefer to let you guys do all the heavy lifting. So
there
Oh,
it is.
thank you very much.
Spoken
that
like a
went-
true woman who knows her place.
Well,
She
we
doesn't
know
have to
we're
say anything if
Don't
she
start
still
that.
controls the
Next
screen.
That's
yeah,
right.
next time it's going to be Sarah. What do you think about that?
and then you'll come in and try to mansplain what I'm trying to say, right?
That's right. Well,
I
oh,
wouldn't
yes,
do that.
we don't do
Do
I'll
I
say I
do
have
that?
3 points, and after the first point, he'll kick in and add 5 other things, and then the show's over.
There it is. Dagger in the heart.
I never mansplain.
No.
I don't ever mansplain.
And by mansplaining, I mean for a man to come in and technically explain.
Exactly. Now you know what that really means. No, no. You all got it wrong. I'll tell you what mansplaining means. You listening, Sarah?
Uh-huh.
No. You know, the first time I ever encountered it was before we ever called it mansplaining. I was at Stonehenge, of all places, and it was my ex-wife I was there with. So this was in 1990. And we're walking around Stonehenge, and I start going, these are where they got the big blue Saracen stone, whatever they're called, and they hauled them all the way over here from, like 70 miles over there. And then they erected these stones here. And my wife at the time, she was like, yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I read all that once. And as we're walking, not a moment later, I see another couple, and the guy, he's British, and he's going, and they brought all these stones over from the quarries about 70 miles from here, and they erected them here. And the woman's like, mm-hmm. And so I thought, I just doing the same thing. We're guys. We like to impart our knowledge. So
Now that was a serious mansplain.
that was a serious mansplain.
You just
and I meant every word of it, Sarah.
Yeah, I can tell.
Women don't mansplain. They woman remember.
Yeah.
No, they never forget.
Back in 52, you said.
Well, one of my seminary professors, it was Dr. Ailing. We were all standing around having coffee during a break in between classes. We're in the office having coffee, and he said, we're talking about our wives and stuff. We're all in our early 20s. And he said, one thing I have found, he says, and being a historian, this works for me. My wife never gets hysterical. She gets historical. And that was the first time I'd ever heard that used that way. Because he says, she doesn't get mad at me. She just brings up everything I've ever done. And none of it.
Well, they're also very, they have, clairvoyance and omniscience, because they remember things that haven't happened yet.
I know. It's like Rainey will do that to me sometimes. I go, "Are you a prophet or a prophetess?"
That was meant as a joke, by the way.
Yes, a sexist would say.
Sexist would say.
Yeah, with Rainey, there's many times Dave's seen it live. There's many times I'm like, I don't do that. Yeah, you do. No, I don't.
Now,
It's
how
my
many times do I take her
perception.
point?
What's that?
How many times do I take her point?
Every stinking time. You know why? He didn't want to be on.
Because I
my
can
wife's
actually remember
list.
shit.
That's what. Because why? You don't want to be on a. There's shits involved shit. You don't want to be on the shit list. That's why. Dave is so. He's so. He and I are talking, and I'll go, man, this thing that Rainey did, it just bugs the shit out of him. He goes, yeah, it should. She was in the wrong. She shouldn't have done that. Rainey will come in later and go, this thing we were talking about, and Scotty was with. Dave says, yeah, he's kind of a dick that way. And I'm like, dude, Dave knows where his bread's buttered. He's like, we were
talking about painting the house, and Scotty's like, yeah, well, we'll get it done when we can get it done, fit it in. Oh no, she fucking said she wants those rooms painted. We're not getting anything done until those rooms are painted.
Life will not be happy until those rooms are painted.
You're not going to get
not even my wife
until the rooms are painted.
That's right. And it was when it was over there in the big room, the studio here, the temporary studio, and Rainey we'd been here about 2 weeks, I think, at the time. We'd been living here. When are you going to get that basement painted? Pretty soon. We got so much shit down here. We got to start. Everything was God. I don't know if I can even show you guys this, but look, my office has become a sanctuary, and it now looks like this because I'm bringing in all the.
Is that a box of boobs that you just showed there? What was that?
There's a box of tissues.
No, what's that say on there?
Yeah, boobs.
I thought I saw something. I was like, what?
It's upside down. It's booked. Yeah. I don't need to keep no boobs in no box. So
I was going to say,
starting to port in all the bookshelves, and so all the books are now in here, and all my extra junk is in here, as you can see over there, and even a dresser that goes in the closet that has socks and underwear in it is in my office right now. Now that's not everything. That's a lot of this stuff was over in the room next door, which is the master bedroom right over there. So I cleaned that room out. I said, I'm going to get that room painted. Rainey did the floor over in that room. We all did the walls over in the big room. That's what we first did. Now she did the floors. It's kind of a color that's kind of looks like this, the floor. It's this, only a little greener.
So I heard something. It was in a chat or on Facebook or something that you and Dave were going to do Pompeii-esque murals on your wall there.
Yeah. Thinking of doing something back here, Pompeii-esque. Yes, I think that would be fun.
I think that's how we're doing it.
That sounds interesting to me. Can't wait to see that.
Should be interesting.
Not the brothel room though, but the restaurant.
I have a haunted chair. Which chair, Philip Blair? The one I'm in? Haunted chair? Yeah, there it is. So anyway, that room I just finished yesterday, cleaning that all out and cleaning it up so I can do the walls and the floor. That's the room that needs the ceiling stuff put in. So for my wife, I will not. There will not be any happiness in this house until that room is painted. It's painted.
Did Bryn and Abby tell you where they got the ceiling?
Where is she sleeping now? I mean,
I
she's
will
not
not
in the
sleep
master
in that house
bedroom.
until there is a ceiling.
Upstairs with the girls.
She sleeps upstairs. Well, we all sleep upstairs right now. There's no bedroom there. It's all empty. So we don't have our bedroom set up yet. We got the big mattresses out in the garage, wrapped up, and, waiting to be pulled in. And so I fully intend to have our bedroom completely set up by the end of this week. I mean, setup. Bed's done, nightstands are in, TV's mounted, and it's a big room. It's like 14, 15 feet wide by about 20, 22 feet long, something like that. And so
That's
it's
not a
nice
bedroom. That's a gymnasium.
That's a gymnasium. And so I want to put a sofa in there along with the bed.
Yeah.
We got a big king size bed, and I want to mount the TV to the wall. So we have the swivel thing on it, and can look at it at all angles.
You can do a Zumba class in there.
I could. I really could. I could wear Zubas in there too.
Yeah.
So if you remember those.
He's making it sound like he's building the Taj Mahal.
Yes, I'm trying.
Well, with Pompeii in one room and the massage table and exercise
this will be
and everything
Pompeii.
else.
That will be New Delhi.
I think you'd be great.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for the tiles to arrive so I can build the mosaics on the floor. So anyway, that's going to get done soon because I want it done. I want things. I get really antsy when my house is not organized. And my kids counter that. They are the antithesis of organized. They are the antithesis of picking up their own messes. Rainey and I had some disturbing, what could seem in a movie to be a disturbing scene between parents and children earlier this evening about how they don't pick anything up and how mom and dad are always cleaning. Now, mom and dad are not their maids. Boy, that's a repeated phrase. Sarah laughs.
No, it was me.
Oh, that was you? Oh, that sounded so girly. So I thought it was Sarah.
It is what it is, They have you trained really well.
Yeah, they think they have us trained really well. The problem is you can only take so many knuckles, so many digits for each infraction. So it's one of I told them, I said, when I was a kid, they used to cut off our knuckles for not doing what we were told. And they said, Dad, you got all your fingers. They grew back. Well, I got better. They grew back. But
I did what I was told.
I did too. That's the thing. If my mom said this chore needs to be done by the time I'm home, do you think we sat and played games? No, we got that chore done because we knew the wrath of mom was not to be matched by any other. So we did what we were supposed to do. We had chores every day. We had to do dishes. Ain't no big shakes. Most of us did dishes as kids. My kids are like, oh, you mean I got to wash them again today? Yeah. My son, I think I told you all the other day, my son, he was standing in the kitchen. I had him loading the dishwasher, okay? And he's standing like this. He's got a hand in his pocket and a phone in the other hand. And he's going, sets the phone down. And he goes, putting things in the dishwasher. I said, son, I said, if you took your hand out of your pocket, I said, you might get that done twice as fast. And he's like, oh. And I'd get it wet and dirty. And I said, son, we have soap and we have towels. So, there's the ceiling, by the way. You can't really see it. I got to seal off that wall with this fiberglass.
It's black.
It's black. It's flat black.
This, our schooling system and all this stuff about, the student debt and all this.
Yeah.
I think that if you just had this top-down objective view, you'd see that the issue seems to be with the institutions providing the product. And they seem to be charging a lot of money for a product that doesn't seem to have any ROI. And if there was something along the lines of, just thinking about what what am I investing here? I've gone here to learn something. What I learn, is it going to, turn into some kind of income so I can pay for all this time and all this money that's spent? Well, the banks and the academic institutions are the ones that should be paying for whatever debt reduction is going on, because they're the ones that sold a shitty product.
That's right.
Now there's two things. There's one, there's a shitty product, but the other thing is that I don't know. I got lucky. My girls are just, they were raised on the old
system,
responsibility, accountability, and then you get joy, right?
Your girls were from the old country. My kids are all about avoiding things we tell them to do because they think they can have a more enjoyable time doing something else until they realize that something else goes away.
Yeah, that's how I was raised. My parents and their parents were from the Midwest and from England and Ireland and Germany. So there was that culture that came with them, and that's the way we were raised. It was very, Grandma Kelly had a right hook, and you didn't want to get in the way of it, and particularly didn't want to be the reason for it.
Yeah. Philip Blair. Yes, son, I want to tell you right now that you do not wipe yourself with your right hand. The right hand is meant for other things. This is the hand. You never shake hands with your left hand, and there is a reason why. And we will tell you, by God, how to do that. Merrily
and always wipe front to back, not back to front.
Always front to back. Always front to back, unless you become too large and you cannot reach.
Oh, that's not racist at all.
What's that? What's that, Sarah?
She said that's not racist at all there, Scotty. I mean,
but Bobji wants to tell you with all merriness and joy from my heart that if your day has not gone well, just sit back and say, fuck it.
Oh my God, I watched that today.
Is another day.
I watched that today. Did I send that to you?
No, somebody else sent that to me, and I sent that to Rainey. Then I saw the actual guy doing it.
Yeah.
And that Indian guy sounds just like that.
Yeah.
He says,
I saved that today. I thought I sent it out to you too.
Sometimes our days come along where all the goodness that we can pour into them and the things that we will do will not alleviate the fucked up nature of your day. So it is a good time sometimes to say, I will sit back and chill and say, fuck it. May you have a wonderful day.
Some days it is better to crawl back into bed.
Yeah, you want to crawl back into bed and say, fuck it.
Oh.
So anyway, you got to look that guy up.
I'll send it to you. I saved it today.
Okay,
I'll send it to you if I didn't already.
You got to find the one where he's doing the talking.
No, that's the one I have.
Oh,
that's the one I have.
I think I sent you that one. You may have sent me the.
No, I came across it I came across a site today that by this yoga person, and he had a ton of that kind of stuff in there, and I copped that and a couple of other.
Now, if Raina was in on this conversation, I'm pretty sure your story would change if she liked the other version. Oh yeah,
I don't care. That's the version I have. That's the first time I'd seen it.
Rainy, your version is the only one that exists.
Yeah.
There can be only one. All right, guys, we got to get out of here. Really, it's gone. I've gone an hour overtime now.
Well, Scotty, if you'd interrupt less and listen more, then we could make these a lot shorter.
I'm sorry. What was that? Oh, he's gone. What happened to Oh, sorry. I hit the interrupt button.
Yeah, well, I
he would never do that to Sarah.
No, I wouldn't.
No, I'm walking away.
she's leaving on her own. Sarah, thanks for being here. You have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow.
Take care, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I got gnats.
Too funny.
That was a good laugh. Thank you. I needed that.
All right, guys, I got to get out of here. I've gone overtime when I meant to go undertime.
Yeah.
So, and it's your fault, both of you.
Yeah, I know.
I'm
Hey,
like,
just-
the first 10 minutes of the show, of the after show, I was like, I might be able to get away with this because nobody's in here. And I talk and then, boop,
I said,
here comes
screw that.
Dave.
15 minutes?
Yeah,
Screw
it was-
that's not going to happen.
Oh.
when you throw out those 15-minute challenges like that, you know that the fight's going to
Yes.
show up.
It was not meant to be a challenge. It was meant
I
to
don't
be
know what you want to
length of
talk
the
about. We
show.
don't have to talk about anything, but we will talk.
Talking been very, very good to me.
Oh, very good. You will merrily and joyfully accept your fate today, and your fate will be that you must talk about nothingness. Oh, we used to do. Well, I remember when, and I'm extending my show now. When Jeff and Nate and I went to England, and we rented the car and went pub and castle hopping for 2 weeks.
Naughty.
We were trying to blow some time, and we saw some signs. It was in Glastonbury, which Jeff says, "Man, this town's just like a Wiccan ghetto." And I said, "Yeah, that's kind of what it is." And there was some guy's shop, Bababji. Now, I think we thought that it was a guy's name. I found later I've seen Bababji used many times. It's either a very common name for Indian gurus, or it is a title. But so we were driving around through the landscape and trying to, and I said something to the effect of, "Oh, Bababji would not like that. I think that Bababji would much prefer that we stay at his commune rather than." And so as we're going around, Jeff would say something like, "I think we need to hear from Bababji again." And I would just lapse into it. I'd just say, "Oh, gentlemen, the thing that you are lacking the most in your life is happiness. Happiness would make you full of joy, and you would express to your neighbor your happiness, and you would extend and penetrate the barrier of their hardness and their harshness, and you would do this all by a penis. You must have a penis in your heart, a penis in your head, a penis in your pocket." And of course, if you haven't caught on, folks, happiness, a penis. So there you go. That's all I got to say.
There's nothing like a little pocket pull, I got to tell you.
Grandfather or father. What was that?
I said there's nothing like a little pocket pull.
Nothing like a little pocket pull. And all right,
gentlemen,
now for
I'm
real,
out.
you're out of here. See you, Professor.
Good night.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Dave, have a good night as well. I'm going to go to
Good
bed.
night to you as well.
Good night. All right, folks, that's it. That's all we got. That's all there is. That's all she wrote. The fat lady has sung, and we're done. Finished. And so we're going to get out of here. So thank you for being here. Thank you for giving me your time. And we'll see you tomorrow night. Live long and prosper.